And it is right now my pleasure to introduce the speaker for our next session. Now, I'm going to introduce Reese, and then Reese is going to also introduce his co-speaker. But really, this is centered around Hewlett Packard's enterprise, what they call their core mindsets. And it's really about fostering innovation through inclusive research. Reese Murphy is one of HPE's lead UX researchers. He has a master's degree in human-computer interaction and design. He is a former Marine, and he is a husband and father of two. Semper Fi. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Reese Murphy.
Thank you. I heard the Marine out there. Can't take Marines anywhere. Where was that? Yeah, Semper Fidelis. All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for coming and listening to us today. As said moments ago, I am Reese Murphy. I am one of the lead researchers at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, part of the Research and Inclusion Group. We're really excited to tell you about our mindsets today, but I would not be able to go 1 millimeter further without introducing my co-lead, Lauren Britton, who is the mastermind behind these. These would not exist without her. So Lauren, come on up here.
Hello, everyone.
I did want to say thanks for being here. I know we're at the tail end of a lot of awesome talks, and we've all eaten some lunch, and everyone's probably starting to wonder if they're going to catch their flight. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to what we have to tell you today. Lauren, you want to say a quick introduction for yourself when we get underway?
Yeah, my name is Lauren Britton. I'm one of the other lead UX researchers here at HPE. I'm also a member of our product accessibility team. And I've been working with our global DEI team, who is hosting this wonderful event. And we're really excited to share our mindsets with you today.
Okay, so let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, all right, so these are something we're really excited to talk to you about. And one of the reasons we're really excited to talk to you about it today is that a lot of times when you're doing enterprise work, you have to take solutions or frameworks or methodologies from research and make them fit the problem space that you're wrestling with, because a lot of times enterprise problems don't map neatly to traditional product frameworks. So we're going to walk through the mindsets today, and this is the sort of structure that we're going to follow. We're going to go over what the mindsets are, what they're not, what's within them. We're going to actually get into what's inside of the core mindsets and journeys, how they were made, why they're different from other artifacts, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some attention that we've gotten for them, specifically for a piece of the mindsets called the inclusive lenses. That comes a little bit later. And then we'll close out. So I'm really excited to tell you all about the mindsets, but before we go any further, let's talk a bit about our team. So we work within the Experience Studio at HPE, and that's a multidisciplinary group. Our research team is very horizontal. We work with a lot of different folks, designers, developers, researchers, PMs, and there is a sort of a thesis behind all the work that we do, and that is that we're trying to make inclusive and delightful experiences for our customers. Now, just from I can't really see hands very well, so I want to hear a little bit of an earthquake. If I could hear a little bit of a rumble, and we're going to do a little bit of a QR code adventure here in a second, but if I could just hear a rumble, how many people in this room come from organizations that use personas? Just rumble on your table a little bit. Okay, all right, cool, cool, cool. So that's good. That gives us a sort of a shared language that we can start from. Our mindsets are a fusion of traditional personas, as you may think of them, and work by someone named Indy Young. I don't know if folks here are familiar with her. She has an anthropological-based cognitive framework called thinking styles. So our mindsets are kind of at an intersection between personas and thinking styles. So as I mentioned before, I guess we don't have the QR. That's okay, we already got our earthquake. So most of us are familiar with personas, right? The notion of a persona is familiar. And we were tasked to go and conduct an inventory, as it were, to try and understand what personas existed within the company. And what we found was that there was a lot of different groups that had a lot of different personas, and they emerged in a lot of different ways. So what we found was that a lot of the personas we were able to identify were created with biased data, which may sound very familiar, or not with data at all. So sometimes you'll have teams that have persona artifacts that have been handed down, and you don't even know where they started anymore. Some personas perpetuated very exclusionary stereotypes. A lot of times personas bound people to singular job functions or titles in a way that did not reflect the reality of the industry. Every group that we spoke with, a lot of times their personas were geared towards very niche products or ways of thinking. And then, of course, the actual format of the personas themselves tended to be very scattered across different groups because they had all come from different places towards different ends. We innovated on our team to try and create something new for HPE. That is what became the core mindsets. The main thing that sets the mindsets apart, and this is the thing that Indy Young really influenced us in a positive way about, is that mindsets are based on actual data. We conducted over 145 90-minute interviews. That's almost 220 interviews and counting with real people out there doing real work, trying to understand what they were contending with. Now, earlier someone spoke a little bit about jobs to be done. You all may have been made aware of other sort of things like jobs to be done or actors or that kind of thing. Mindsets can live in that same shelf in your mind, but they are a little bit different. Excuse me. One of the main things that mindsets do that we're really proud of is that they omit demographic information. And this is very intentional. This is to minimize the perpetuation of harmful stereotypes. And a lot of times, as we know, these things don't come about because of any conscious thought. You see something, you read something, and you go to conclusions that are perhaps not fair. Mindsets try to avoid that by omitting it altogether. We recruit by purposefully sourcing diverse identities, and the goal is to recognize gaps in the experiences of our customers. We want to make sure that we're actually understanding the terrain that we're wrestling with. The way that I like to explain the mindsets to be thought about is that you can think about a mindset as like a hat. So a lot of times with a traditional persona, you'll have a persona that links to a job title, but that job title might look very different if that person's working at a startup or a large enterprise. I don't know about all of you, but throughout the course of a week, I might wear several different hats. My job title would not indicate that if it was neatly put into a cubby. So one person might switch through several hats or mindsets throughout the day instead of being compartmentalized into their singular role, and mindsets account for that. That's why you have certain mindsets that do not correlate with a specific job title. Mindsets are also focused on the holistic experience and purpose driving the human. So because we're researchers or because we're UX, we do want to come from the place of the person. What's the person trying to accomplish? What's the person wrestling with? What are their frustrations, their hopes, that kind of thing? And we are going to look at the way that mindsets are structured here in a moment. Let's talk for a moment about the actual framework of the mindsets. So as you can see, there's several layers of mindsets. You have your top layer, which is the core mindsets. Then you have one layer down, which is your focused mindsets. And then you have sort of that bottom layer, which is the specialized mindsets. And then sort of floating off to the side, you have the inclusive lenses. And we'll explain more about how those lenses relate to these mindsets here in a bit. But you can see